In a peaceful little village, there lived an elderly woman known for her constant cheerfulness, optimism, and wisdom. She wasn't wealthy, nor did she hold a prestigious position, but everyone in the village loved and respected her. Despite the ups and downs of life, she always wore a gentle smile and carried a positive attitude that comforted anyone who met her. Because of this, the villagers often came to her, not just to talk, but also to seek advice whenever they faced hardship or felt down. They saw her as a friend, a teacher, and at times, a source of life inspiration. The old woman consoled others not only with her words, but also with the way she lived. Simple, slow-paced, yet full of understanding and compassion. The greatest question in many people's minds, especially the younger ones, was how she could always remain happy no matter the circumstances. And from that very curiosity, a deep and inspiring story unfolded. One day, a young man from the village came to see the old woman, his face full of curiosity. He asked, "Why are you always happy? No matter what happens, you never seem sad. Don't you ever feel terrible when things go wrong?" His question revealed his surprise and doubt about the woman's calm and optimistic nature. He couldn't understand how someone could maintain such joy and serenity, even when facing misfortunes in life. Upon hearing his question, the old woman smiled kindly and began to share her philosophy of life. She said that life is full of ups and downs, times of joy and sorrow, but what truly matters is how we choose to face them. She explained that happiness doesn't come from what happens around us, but from within each person. People often let circumstances control their emotions, but she had learned that as long as we keep our hearts peaceful and full of gratitude, joy will always be present, no matter the situation. She emphasized that happiness is not something that comes naturally, but a conscious choice we make every day. With this mindset, she maintained her optimism and inspired those around her, even in times of hardship. The old woman then began telling the young man about her life story, a journey that had not been easy, but was filled with profound lessons. When she was young, she lived with her husband and children in a poor but warm and loving family. Although they didn't have much money, they were always grateful and cherished the little things in life. However, tragedy struck when her husband fell seriously ill. The family couldn't afford medicine, and despite all their efforts, he eventually passed away. It was the most painful period of her life. She cried endlessly, feeling as though her entire world had collapsed. But then, looking into the worried eyes of her children, she realized she couldn't stay lost in sorrow forever. She understood that if she continued to be consumed by grief, she wouldn't just lose herself. She'd also take away the emotional support her children needed. From that moment on, she began to change her outlook on life. She accepted that sorrow was an inevitable part of existence, but chose not to let it control her emotions. She chose to live positively, to find joy in simple things, and to use that inner strength to lift herself up. Her story was living proof that happiness doesn't depend on circumstances, but on how we respond to them. After such a tremendous loss, the old woman didn't allow herself to remain trapped in sadness. Though at times she thought she would never smile again, she slowly came to understand that sorrow couldn't change the past. Instead, she began changing the way she viewed life. Each morning she would tell herself, "Today is a new day, and I will find something to be happy about." Though it was sometimes difficult, she made an effort to find joy in the smallest of things, a warm ray of sunshine, a blooming flower, or a friend's smile. These seemingly simple things became her anchors in rediscovering happiness. She also learned to practice gratitude, thankful that she was still alive, that she had her children, friends, and her health. By choosing each day to focus on the positive, she gradually overcame her sorrow. For her, happiness didn't come from grand things, but from appreciating what she had and not letting pain take over her mind. From her life experiences, the old woman came to realize that happiness is a choice. In every situation, whether good or bad, each person has the power to choose how they respond. She could have chosen sadness and to blame fate, but instead she chose to find the good and be grateful for what she had. She understood that life inevitably brings challenges, but our attitude determines whether we can be happy. It wasn't easy, but by choosing to live with optimism every day, she was able to keep her joy and inspire others. After hearing the old woman's advice, the young man decided to change the way he viewed life. He began trying to find something good in each day, even in the smallest of things. Slowly, he noticed that he was becoming more positive and happier, even when facing challenges. The story and life philosophy of the old woman spread throughout the village, inspiring many people. Because of that, the village gradually became more cheerful and united. It all started with one person who chose to be happy despite adversity. The final message the old woman wanted to share was this: happiness does not depend on circumstances, but on how we choose to see and face life. Though life is full of trials, if we learn to appreciate the small things and maintain a positive attitude, we can still find joy. All difficulties will eventually pass, but optimism and gratitude will carry us through. Happiness is a choice, not something that comes from outside, but something that begins in each person's heart.